Network, we're here to stay, taking you on a journey in a groundbreaking way. With it, we're the frogs in the net, powering AI with the dubstep set. Lilypad Network, watch us rise with the beat that grooves, the tech that defies. Lilypad Network, let's dive in deep, connecting the world. One leap at a time with epic drops and froggy vibes. We're making waves. It's our Lilypad Network ride. Drop the bass, feel the surge. Jump into the future, it's time to emerge. Lilypad Network, we're here to stay, taking you on a journey in a groundbreaking way. With it, we're the frogs in the net, powering AI with the dubstep set. Lilypad Network, watch us rise with the beat that grooves, the tech that defies. Lilypad Network Prime. Lilypad Network, where the frogs learn and jump into the future, it's time to emerge. Lilypad Network, we're here to stay, taking you on a journey in a groundbreaking way. Ribbit, we're the frogs in the net, powering AI with the dubstep set. Lilypad Network, watch us rise with the beat that grooves, the tech that defies. Lilypad Network, let's dive in deep, connecting the world. One leap at a time with epic drops and froggy vibes. We're making waves. It's our Lilypad Network ride. Lilypad Network, let's dive in. Lilypad Network ride. We're making waves. It's our Lilypad Network prime.
All right.
Feel the surge.
Stop the music real quick. Welcome everyone to Lilypad. I'm Devlin. I was here last week with Steve. I'll be here with Kartik in a moment here. Let's have a happy New Year. We're all excited to start the new year strong at Lilypad. We've got a couple quick announcements real quick, and then I'll introduce the co-host and the guest. So first and foremost, we've got a nice new shiny website at Lilypad Tech. Lilypad.tech, sorry. And in addition to that, we've also got a brand new fancy leaderboard for any module creators looking to build any modules on Lilypad. So exciting stuff. If anyone's interested in building, we've got a blog post available for the module creator program. And then also a new Lilypad intern Twitter account that's tweeting things. It's got life. Anyway, so introducing that, first up, we've got the co-host Kartika. She's going to come on here and introduce herself.
Hey, hey Devlin, how's it going? Happy New
Good.
Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. How you doing?
I'm good. I just came back
hopefully.
from Germany and had like a super nice, relaxing break. So yeah, how about you? How are you?
I'm doing good also. Thanks. Yeah, hopefully you're also nice and relaxed from the break. So if you don't mind introducing yourself a little bit, tell us about what you do at Lilypad, what you're working on, anything like that.
Yeah, so basically like I lead product, as you know, at Lilypad. And basically I've been focusing really heavily on how Lilypad can really fuel this agentic and AI agents. So that's been sort of like my focus. We're looking into sort of multi-agent orchestration. And I'm really happy to announce that we are actually working on a AAA. So it's called Applied AI Agent Series today. So yeah, that's really exciting. And maybe I just take a little bit of time to sort of like give a little bit of about my background and, you know, why I'm so passionate about Lilypad overall. So it's a bit more of a personal story. So my dad is an oncologist. You had cancer in the family as well. You know, like it's a massive problem to solve. And now, unfortunately, my dad is like he's retired. He's not practicing anymore, but he's partially blind. So he can't read, you know, like any of his papers. He can't converse with it. You know, he would like to sort of like be up to date with all of that. And, you know, Devlin, I told you about this a little bit, you know, a couple of weeks ago already. So now what I'm super excited about with this applied AI agent series is that within Lilypad, we can actually, you know, fuel some of these agents that are working in orchestration like together. And, you know, so one agent like reading some papers, another agent, you know, like really evaluating that, and then another agent actually looking into some protein folding and being actually quite practical. So this is something, you know, like from a personal level, I'm super excited about, and that's one of our target groups at Lilypad. And if people, you know, who are listening to this are interested in learning more, like as we said, you know, Devlin was saying earlier, we've got this model creator program. You know, check that out and see if you're in the BioML DSI space. If you're interested in any of that, you know, you can propose some of these modules, and then. But we're not only focused on DSI and BioML, we're also doing, you know, like other areas as well. But currently today, that's what I wanted to announce and sort of like give the background in terms of why I'm here at Lilypad as well. But that's like, I guess, enough from my side. I hand over to you, Deb.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, it's a great story, and actually is a perfect companion for who we have on tonight as guest, Stanley. I'm gonna bring him on now. You ready, Stan?
Let's do it.
Hey, nice to have you on.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you perfect. Thanks for coming on here tonight.
Oh, Happy New Year. This is fun. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, we're super stoked to have you on. You're really knowledgeable and a great person to have on our team. So, but if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself for the people that don't know you that are watching this, just give a quick introduction about yourself, what you do, and how you contribute to Lilypad.
Yeah, I am Stanley Bishop, aka Science Stanley, the DSI guy, which is a silly thing. It's I do kind of a scientific communication character, you know, in the spirit of my great hero, Mr. Nye, Mr. Bill Nye. And yeah, it's because I am a scientist and so passionate about science, and the type of science I do is machine learning science, and there's even going to be more science here because it's machine learning science for science that I do when scientists in different areas want access to big computers, you know, ones that don't fit on your desk that need a whole building. I help them design and configure those kind of systems, mostly in biology. But is just really interesting because being a kind of computer scientist who works with scientists, you get a kind of a different view of the world of science, and you see, you know, some of this Web3 stuff that I've become really passionate about. That, you know, we're kind of over centralized, and there's a lot of opportunities for people to work together in different contexts, and so that's me. What brought me to Web3, and then also I would say my biggest mission in life and my biggest goal is to and I almost never curse, but fuck cancer up. Very against cancer, and yeah, actually, Kartika, that's been so cool connecting with you and the story of your family and your passion in that area too, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when we connected, that was just like, you know, amazing. And, you know, we've been chatting for a while and working on, you know, like how we can, you know, sort of fuel how Lilypad can fuel and really empower this BioML, you know, like area in Web3 and AI, you know, really bridge that. So one of the things we want to talk about is this AAA applied AI agent series we've been working on, and I'm very, very excited about. So like you've been busy working on that. Like one of the areas, like, can you tell me a little bit more about like Vivek and, you know, what you guys have been working on? That'd be awesome.
Totally. It's so funny because the original idea for this first system we're featuring in this new series was what you told me about your father. I was thinking about, like, how could we build an AI that could do the reading for someone who struggled with vision.
Yeah.
And then it was so funny because it was just a couple weeks later, I was having coffee with one of my best friends in the world. His name's Vivek. And Vivek is a data scientist. He works on oncology data at Cedars-Sinai, and he is one of my biggest heroes. He is so knowledgeable. He works so hard for his patients, and I just getting to be his friend, I've learned so much from him over the years. But I'll tell you, it is hard to get the bro for even a cup of coffee. Like I'm down to just like two Vivek cups of coffee a month right now. And Devlin, the reason why though is like this guy is reading papers like you wouldn't believe.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like that's what my dad, like had to do as well when he was, when he was practicing still as an oncologist. Like you have to stay up to date, and he's doing like all this research. And now, because he's partially blind, but even like for practicing oncologists, like it's a huge problem. Like that amount of reading, it takes weeks, it takes months, and it's just not feasible to really come through with like all this research. So yeah, like Stan, when we were chatting, and like the work we, I'm not gonna take your thunder, but when we were like talking about what could be possible with like a multi-agent system, so like agents that are very specialized and niche in one particular area, and how Lilypad can really fuel that. Yeah, I'm really hopeful. Like this is something which is so needed and can create a tremendous impact, like not just for my dad, but like for the whole bio ML space. So yeah, in terms of like can you just like Stan, can you tell me a little bit about the different agents you guys have been working on?
Oh, totally. I think Kartik, I know for you, but where did you guys grow up? I'm just so curious.
So I actually grew up in Germany.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think I knew that. Devin, what about you? What about you, my friend? Just
I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, me too.
Oh, nice.
I swear to God, I didn't plan that. I was actually gonna mention something about my upbringing in the Bay.
I'd love to hear it. Are you still in the Bay?
No, I ran away when the VCs took over. I'm from the engineers. I'm now in LA, where they're still building real things. I'm just kidding, San Francisco. I love you guys. I'm just being a silly guy. But yeah, so I grew up in Palo Alto, and there's something that I thought was really interesting about being in Palo Alto. I think in Palo Alto and the surrounding areas, you had the first time in history that like you had a class of kids in middle school where every kid had a computer at home. Mm-hmm. And they were talking to each other about their computers and, developing society and culture around the way they were using their computers. And we take it for granted. It's I think hard for us to remember what it was like before computers. Oh my God.
What's happening?
You guys hear that?
Yeah, we hear a little bit.
I mean, doesn't that sound like when Bugs Bunny's doing something and like everything's around? I swear to God, my partner does that exactly when I'm on camera. It's remarkable. But hey, it's good for comedic effect. But I'm sorry. I apologize, honey. I love you. Forgive me. That was a good bit. Can we get that clipped for TikTok? That was excellent. But anyway, I'm rambling. My point is really that I think a lot of the real beauty that came out of the internet revolution didn't happen until that first generation that grew up with computers in the background were there. Because there's a way of understanding and engaging with the system that just you do intuitively that's harder for things that are happening later. So yeah, that's something that I observed, Devlin, is like I think there were certain things happening in the Bay that happened way before anywhere else. And I feel like we're at that moment with agents, right? Where so much of what's going on with agents is people trying to understand what is an agent, like what do they do, like why would I want an agent, what is going to happen with agents, and we're just in that same moment where it's some of the first time that like people in certain professions have ever sat down with a machine learning scientist and said like, what is an agent, what can it do for me?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, like having, like one agent that can read, the like a paper title, like, a summary, like some of the content of like, our research paper. Um, that's like, like super exciting, for me. And we've been able to sort of work on that now on Lilypad, like, this first agent can actually read that, and it's being fueled by Lilypad in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of funny too, because I think sometimes as a machine learning scientist, what I'm doing is helping the machines and the scientists like work together.
You're the
And
interface.
what was that, man?
You're the interface.
Well, try communicate or try to facilitate, try to build bridges. And I have a joke I make, which is, if you want to be a doctor, you have to have good bedside manner. But if you want to be a machine learning scientist who works with doctors, you have to have really good bedside manner, because you have to be respectful of the knowledge, and there's concern that these things could like eclipse the role of doctors in certain ways or cause negative outcomes for patients. So it's just really interesting, because the process of actually sitting down with an expert knowledge worker and figuring out like what is it that's going on in your head, and then how do I get it inside of a machine intelligence, is a really interesting process, Kartika. And like you were starting to allude to, that's what we did with my friend Vivek. We sat down and we went through this really interesting process of kind of like reverse engineering his thoughts, and then getting a little team of AI agents to be doing the same thing. And then, yeah, with this new show, that's what we'll be doing every week is we'll be showing a video of actually sitting down with some kind of expert and, walking through their thoughts, building an agent system that thinks like they do.
That's amazing. So, like if you think about, that's like, reading and comprehending and like, doing that, having that like a functionality is like applicable to all kinds of areas, right? It's not just BioML or DSI. So, like I'm very excited what, like this series of agent can bring to the wider area of, like AI in general. And agents in general, but having like different agents work together. So one thing I wanted to touch on is like, so the first agent is reading all these papers and summarizing them and seeing what's relevant based on the prompt. So the prompt in this case is, find out about, cancer, like a particular type of cancer. Let's say, my dad is specialized. He's actually specialized in breast cancer. And he would be like trying to find out what is the latest research around that. So then once the first agent has done it, which is fairly simple, but then the second agent, he would really break it down, read all of the details, and then that like that sort of like second step takes much longer, right? From your experience, Stan, like when you were looking into that and were talking to Vivek and your friends, like, crunching sort of like the details of some of this takes much more time.
Yeah, well, it was so fun too. And I think this is, I'm actually, Devlin, you probably know the interface better than me. I was trying to see if I could pull up a whiteboard or something.
A whiteboard, I'm not sure.
And don't sweat it. That'll be a teaser for the first episode of AAA when we release it, because in there we'll really draw the picture of this agentic system.
Yeah.
But let me just tell you though, verbally, sat down with Vivek, and he also specializes in breast and liver cancers. And Devlin, have you ever heard of immunotemperature? This is a weird phrase, but
I have not.
So immunotemperature isn't like physical temperature. It is how aware is the immune system of something. So something that has like a low immunotemperature, the immune system kind of doesn't see it. And if it's a high immunotemperature, it's right there. And oncological processes like cancers, they very specifically are good at evading the immune system. And then certain types of cancers are particularly immunocold. And unfortunately, breast and liver cancers are notoriously immunocold. Immunocoldness makes it much harder to treat a cancer. For example, if you're disrupting the biology of a cancer with something like chemo or radiation, if you get it weak enough and it's an immuno-hot cancer, it's possible the immune system can kind of clear things up. But for an immuno-cold tumor, it will continue surviving, it'll grow back. And so they're much harder to treat. And often they're attempting to raise the immunotemperature. This gets really complicated because like if you were to draw a diagram that represented like what's going on in the environment of a tumor, it would be the craziest diagram you've ever seen. It would be more complicated than the Starship Enterprise. There's so many different actors and molecules and compounds and antibodies and receptors and proteins, and it's sort of like a soup. And the immune system itself, many different things interacting with other things. And so it might be that the immune system has a thing here, here, and here, and the tumor has figured out that if it puts a thing here, here, and here, and I'm obviously just being kind of illustrative of the network of relationships, but yeah, the idea is like if we can mess with the anti-immune technology that the tumor is deploying, we potentially can disrupt that and we can raise the immunotemperature. But raising the immunotemperature kind of comes down to like interacting with this soup of molecules. And so you need the right molecules, both to kind of figure out what you could introduce. And then now with AI, we can actually start with a molecule, grow it into 1,000 different slightly modified versions of itself. And so one of the key things that goes into the design of like an oncotherapy is kind of like the particles that you have access to, the antibodies, the things that are targetable in the tumor. Just as a small example, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but just because it's so fun, there's a called an ADC, is a relatively new technology. It's an antibody drug conjugate. And so for that one, you actually attach a chemo molecule to an antibody. Like literally, like you tie them together, and then the antibody will deliver the molecule directly to the cell, the oncocell. And so think about it, potentially chemo without side effects, like chemo where you're not, carpet bombing the whole body, you're delivering those medicines right where they're supposed to go. But yeah, so like this is the thing, and this is again where it was so fun to sit down with Vivek and go like, hey man, what has given you the most trouble? And then so what he was saying is he felt like it was a needle in a haystack where, he's looking for a new antibody for a patient, or he's trying to make sure they're up on a new type of particle that's out there. And he might have 1,000 papers, he might have 10,000 papers. And, most of the papers aren't talking about particles. They're not talking about antibodies. They're talking about other stuff. So here's like kind of what I heard is like he sits down with the paper, he kind of reads the paper, looks at the articles, and the first thing he does is he goes, am I reading this paper, yes or no? Does this seem like a paper worth reading, right? And so that's the first step that he does. Then the papers he's decided to read, he goes through them paragraph by paragraph. And he if he sees a paragraph that looks like it might have something good, he puts a check mark next to it. And he'll go through a whole paper this way, just kind of being like, oh, there we go. Next, he goes back to the paragraphs that look promising, like they describe a particle or an antibody that he's interested in. He kind of writes it up, and he kind of goes into a little bit more detail, kind of does some referencing, sees if anyone else has tried it. And if it seems good, he'll kind of write it into a little report. And then kind of he'll take all those reports and those go to the lab. So if you think about it, like what he described here is a linear 4-step process. Papers go in, yes, no, classified. Papers get read paragraph by paragraph, classified with some kind of yes, no, or some kind of prompt. Paragraphs get translated into a report that has more details about the protein. And then that is processed into something that the laboratory is ready to work on. So look at what we just did. And that's the thing that we're really excited to get clicking for people is any process, right? Like anything you do, if you slow down and you really ask yourself these questions, it's like anything we do is really a set of steps like that, right? So at Lilypad, what we're so excited about is you can take that first one. It has to be good at reading papers figuring out their broader context. Okay, we need a bigger model that's a little smarter, little bigger context, Llama 7 billion. Then all the papers that pass get read paragraph by paragraph and they get a yes, no. That yes, no doesn't have to be too smart. But if we're processing 1,000 papers, that could be 10,000 paragraphs. That could be 100,000 paragraphs, depending on, some of these papers get crazy. And so that's like a huge amount of inference. And so that wants probably a smaller model that can be run on less resources. Once the paragraphs are selected and they need to be translated into, like a scientific report, that needs a big model. So there we would want to be using Llama 405 billion. And then actually attaching a RAG system so that it has like knowledge about oncology to incorporate into its reports. But anyway, it's like what I just did is sort of in pantomime is this process we went through of like, converting from human brain to diagram and then from diagram to machine brain.
Awesome. Super exciting. So I think Dev, like just so that we all know, like this is like we're announcing like a whole series around this, and also how people can like sort of get hands-on. Like you earlier said, people can create modules on the Lilypad. You can just run jobs. There's all kinds of modules there already available, from Stable Diffusion to Llama to anything you would like to run. So yeah, feel free to join us on Discord. Or join the actual model creator program. It's actually super easy to get up and running.
And Devin, sorry, I mean to talk over you, sir. Been rambling. I'm too excited about this stuff, you guys.
No, I'm not talking. Feel free. I was just sharing the Discord link.
I just wanted to give a sneak peek of a future agent that I just started working on. I read this incredible short story, and it's about a kind of Dungeons and Dragons world, except all the characters are animals, like different animals. Like, so it's like a skunk and a badger, and it's just such a good book. And I was like, man, I want to see these characters as cartoons. Like, that would be so cool. So I'm doing just a very simple agent that's going to read through and find every description of a character and then write a little report about who that character is. And then called the Lilypad Stable Diffusion system to generate a cartoon picture of that character. And I'm gonna see if I can get an AI to make me a little read-long storybook.
That would be cool. It's actually based off a campaign you ran?
So I'm saying it's like Dungeons and Dragons. It was actually a really good short story. I'd have to check with my partner to remember the name. But it was kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, like kind of that kind of medieval adventure story. Really I'll tell you though, I am actually using ChatGPT to write a D&D campaign right now. Man, it's so much fun.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, you can use ChatGPT for anything and everything nowadays, so why not use it for a D&D campaign? Help you with a lot of the story springboarding.
Yeah, totally. And last thing to say about the we'll have to do a Lilypad campaign sometime, man.
That would be cool. Someone was talking about doing an Among Us game. Maybe we should just do a D&D campaign instead.
Dude, I would do that, and then we should have an AI D&D, an AI Dungeon Master running on Lilypad.
That would be cool. Now that's a cool idea. Lilypad DM.
I could totally design a DM AI agent, and I'm already saying that's going to be an episode of AAA. It'll be fun. But I did want to say it's just one thing that I'm really excited about happening as part of the Lilypad community is people playing with agents. Agents don't have to be like some crazy thing OpenAI is doing. They're literally like, if you see something in your life or in your community that is taking up a lot of someone's time, it's something that can help you. But that only happens if people learn how to build them and if they have access to being able to use them. So like this show we're launching, I think is going to be so much fun to kind of grow that conversation and get people thinking like, oh wait, maybe I don't have to do that anymore. But also, we can't compete with OpenAI on the hardware, right? And it is an exciting moment because a lot of local hardware is becoming very capable of running these like very good open source AI models that are out there. So I think that keeping people building their own systems and having access to their own tools is really important. But when I was like talking about that node system, and I talked about the 4 different steps in the agent system, so the one that has to go through all those paragraphs is actually a tough one to run on your local. Because like, yeah, if you think about it, for 1,000 papers, you might have 1,000,000 paragraphs, right? And so each of the nodes, except for the second node, is going to run pretty fast. But you might think of that like second node gums up your machine because you only have so many processes. But that's what we're going to be talking about in our first episode specifically, and in the context of Lilypad. If you're working on an agent, you get one of those sticky nodes, we want it. Please send it to us at Lilypad. And that's exactly what we're going to show. Like one of these like really cool open source developers building these models, like when he gets to a sticky node, he puts it on the Lilypad protocol, and all of a sudden 1,000 GPUs jump on it, and it's done like that. And so we're literally talking about taking something, that you might have to run overnight, like an 8-hour job, and doing it in 10 minutes on Lilypad. And if it wasn't helping a cancer researcher, those GPUs would be doing nothing. They're lazy.
They're just sitting there collecting dust. Put them on the network.
That is absolutely amazing. I'm so excited about this, and I can't wait, to see, what the community comes up with as well. The whole DeSci community and how people get involved. But yeah, like being able to save that much time from 8 hours to like 10 minutes, that's incredible. And all for, like this amazing course as well. So stay tuned. Come, and join us. So yeah, like I think I'll pass over to you, Dev. I think we're at the hour.
Yeah. Before we head off, Stanley, did you have any links that you wanted to share? Where can people find you? Where can they reach you? Anything that you wanted to put out there for anyone listening?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I'm a Science Stanley, your friendly neighborhood scientist. I'm a Science Stanley on Twitter, Science Stanley on GitHub, Science Stanley on Instagram, Science Stanley on LinkedIn. So come check me out. And then if you want to learn a little bit about my research in precision medicine and oncology, you can check out www.stanley.science. And actually we'll be updating that website to kind of contain a lot of this agent work as we're building it. And I think is honestly just going to be so fun because, what is a cooler story sitting down with an incredible scientist to like learn what they know, helping them like magnify what they know into action in the world, and having fun while we're doing it. I got to say, I'm really looking forward to this new show.
That's awesome. And wow, Stanley.science, what a cool website, what a cool domain. Congrats on that.
It's really funny because like I'm often on calls with people who have very fancy email addresses, but it's very fun. And growing up, I always loved like palindromes, So my full is Stanley.science at science.stanley or whatever. It's very, very silly, very silly.
Hey, it works. And Kartika, how about for yourself? Anywhere that people can reach you or find you at? You want to share?
Yeah, sure. So so my name is Silent Springs 30. So yeah, it's like Silent Springs 30 on Twitter. I'm on Discord. That's all the same. So Silent Springs 30, which was inspired by Rachel Carson, and yeah, all of her good work. And then my real name is a bit long, so it's Kartika Shendurin Tulusan. You can find me also on LinkedIn. Please follow me. Yeah, super excited. Or just reach out if you want to get involved. Happy to chat.
Awesome. Yeah, I got your Twitter down below. Next time I'll have to pre-program these links. This is all kind of impromptu last minute. So. But we pulled it together. We came through and we got something out. So an awesome conversation. Thank you guys for joining. Stanley, really appreciate you and your time, and everything you're doing is super interesting and cool. So love to talk about it. We can easily spend a lot of just sitting here talking about it all day. And yeah, it's been great. Happy New Year, everyone. We're looking forward at Lilypad to a whole new year of building. You know, fresh out, starting strong, and yeah, looking forward to more. That's it
Thanks
from us.
so much.
Yeah, thanks all for joining. We'll see you next time. Later.
Hey man, Devlin, I love your setup too. I got a bunch of those like space projectors. That's really fun, and I can't wait to check in on the show in coming weeks. And like, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have both of you on the show coming up, and we'll organize something a little bit better next time. But first show of the year can only go up from here, right?
Technical demo, we crushed it.
Yeah. Anyway, have a great day, everyone. See you next time.
Jump into the future, it's time to emerge. Lilypad Network, we're here to stay, taking you on a journey in a groundbreaking way.